wop, bamboo.
Steelers fans, welcome into the Knoll Road. We've got a new head coach to talk about and a lot of questions. Our sources say Art Rooney is genuinely confused by the fan backlash. The media homers are already trying to spin this into a dream. Meanwhile, fans are shocked. Some are flat out heartbroken. How do you feel? Here's the truth. This show is going to hit every angle, including one reason there is real hope that Art Rooney just might be more motivated than ever to bring home Lombardi number 7. Here we go.
Van to the corner of the end zone. Oh, it's for a touchdown!
Shoot ya, I'm Gavin Dawson along with New Bear Lesniewski, the all-academic SEC lineman at Kentucky. And I think I can see a path to the Super Bowl out of this, and I'll explain that in just a second. But before we do that, buddy, we got to go to Mike McCarthy at the podium.
The Steelers replaced Mike Tomlin with the fatter white version of Mike Tomlin. My play call sheet is just an Applebee's menu, and my headset is connected to the nearest Cracker Barrel. Pittsburgh fans are already sick of my shit, and I haven't even started. Going from Mike Tomlin to me is like pissing your pants and changing your socks. Mike Tomlin is like a Mazda, and I'm a Kia. The only reason I got hired is because I put ketchup on my potatoes. The expectation here is to win a lot of games, and by a lot of games, I mean just nine games. I look forward to bringing what I learned from Dallas here to Pittsburgh, which is kicking field goals when you're down 12 in the fourth quarter. Pairing me and Aaron Rodgers together is a devastating combo. If it was 2012 and Aaron wasn't microdosing mushrooms before every game. I'm excited to be here for the Steelers, but mostly for the cheesesteaks.
AI for the win. Salute to @NotTheFakeDNP, dude, for giving us the comedic relief many needed right now.
I've been trying to not just watch that over and over and over again, but it's so damn funny. All right, so funny. What does this mean? We'll get into dealing with this. We'll get into the gut reaction. I'll tell you exactly how I fucking felt when I heard this news. But what this means, first and foremost, is everybody's coming back. Everybody's coming back. Jalen Ramsey's coming back. Patrick Queen's coming back. TJ Watt's coming back. Cam Hayward, please don't retire. Young man, you still Father Time. You are kicking his ass. Aaron fucking Rodgers walked through that door. We are going all in. This is not win now. All in 2026. That is the only way to keep yourself sane.
Absolutely. I think this is a move partially because Art Rooney maybe watched that entire season and thinks Aaron Rodgers is a legendary Hall of Famer. I think this is the lack of football savvy. We talked about it when this process started. I even asked Chris Halleck this last week. Do you have faith that Art Rooney is football savvy enough to come to the right hire here? Because he wasn't in the same capacity when they hired Mike Tomlin. And now Mike Tomlin, the only football wisdom that you really got in the organization left. And I think this is, the first step in this post-Tomlin reality of where we're sitting right now. So there is quite a bit to have questions about and be cynical about. But
hey, if you're not following the Knoll Road, maybe my favorite tweet from us yet, 446 bridges in Pittsburgh. We didn't need another bridge coach. And, we were riding the ducky boats before they retired them. And I knew that it's really 445 because they closed one. But we know that because my baby was driving the ducky boats right before these. Captain Baby is what they called her. And I'm out there on the river looking at, Heinz Field and just thinking about, what a great football town this is and thinking about how one day the end of Tomlin is going to come because this is a few years ago and thinking about what that future might look like. And in the ramp up over these past few weeks about what it could be, here we are. And you said AI for the win. And the reason it's so damn funny is because so much of what's in there and what everyone's chirping about right now is inarguably true.
Yes, it is. I think there's also some value in Mike McCarthy. The 3 straight 12-win seasons. The floor is high, and it might be higher than it was with Tomlin. And that's kind of where I wanted to try to build some optimism, and then we can go through all the reasons to be questioning this. But here's what I know. The backlash about this hire was so loud and so immediate. and it's been confusing for Art Rooney. Like, that just shows you how out of touch he is, maybe with Pittsburgh, maybe with what fans want, what media wants. But he thought this was going to be a very popular hire because he's a Pittsburgh guy and he would keep Rodgers and he's won a Super Bowl. Like, in Art Rooney's eyes, he was waiting for a big uproar of appreciation for, oh my gosh, you've brought Mike Tomlin home. This is going to be amazing. And when the news broke and the reaction is what it was, he was surprised. And now the fan base is more convinced than ever that he is an idiot, right? So the question is, for the rest of this offseason, how motivated might he and Omar Khan be to prove everybody wrong? And if they continue to make trades, we saw a very active front office last year. Will they continue to make trades? Will they make acquisitions? Will Rooney say, you know what, screw these people. They want to doubt me. Will hold my beer and watch this. And, you know, maybe you build off what you had last year if the guys stay healthy. You know, if Hayward returns, if TJ Watt can have a bounce back year and you can find a better way to use Jalen Ramsey, I can't rule out that if you add 3 good players on top of this team could end up in the AFC title game next year, maybe even better.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite thing has been shifting from grief. We're going through the stages of it and going from denial into how do you find a solution? How do you move forward? How do you talk yourself into, you know, hopium, copium, whatever it is? And it starts with the coordinators. You know, the GM, the assistant GM. These guys were all together in New Orleans, right? Khan, Weidel, McCarthy, right? Like, they go way back. So when you say, hey, this front office that did a whole bunch of stuff, it gives me tremendous pause, because now it's like Mike McCarthy is the voice in their ear, and it's the 3 Musketeers, and how are they going to build this thing? So you go, all right, where's the next ladder? Where's the next rung on the ladder that you could skip to? And you go, who's going to be the OC and the DC? Could he just go get Shula and Shias because it's maybe only a 3-year contract and it's a bridge to the future? And then you go, no, it's a 5-year contract. They signed him to a 5-year contract. So again, shut all that stuff down. This is no longer pie in the sky. This is no longer modernizing. This is literally, your owner believes you can win now. And to him, win now is being in contention. And sometimes you have the horses and sometimes you don't. That's literally the end quote from him. So do they have the horses right now? Unquestionably resounding, fuck no. Can they go get them? Can they go get enough of them? Because that is the thing. When you're in a high floor, low ceiling situation, if you
need great players,
you got to have them, right? Because you're not out scheming anybody.
Yeah, and optimizing and modernizing is great. You know, it's going to give you a higher probability, but Mike McCarthy does a lot of things well. Like, he's going to keep your roster healthy. He is going to.
They don't practice hard.
Right, they don't practice hard, and that might rub Steelers fans the wrong way. Once they get a look at how different training camp is, they're going to be like, "Wow, where's the hitting? Where's the longer practices?" Like,
some people are going to say that that's been litigated out because of the CTE lawsuit, and there's only so many days in past. So, like, maybe that's no longer a competitive disadvantage because everyone's kind of where McCarthy has always been.
Sure. And so there's reasons to believe that Mike McCarthy isn't the worst coach ever, but the downside of McCarthy is absolutely real. I mean, it is static offense. He's not going to help with your personnel. You know, here's the thing about this is, like, the Packers never asked him to help. The Cowboys did, and it didn't go well. Like, he really needs a front office that's like, hey, we're going to get you all the players. You go spend your off season however you want to do it, and we'll see you at training camp or OTAs or whatever.
Rooney can't let him hire all his friends. That was the problem. That was the beginning of the end in Dallas, were the first coordinator decisions, right?
He sucked. He sucks at hiring his own coaching staff. So it wasn't until the Cowboys came in after he totally screwed up in hiring Mike Nolan and Jim Tom Sula defensively that they actually, you know, had the ability to get any traction with Dan Quinn. So I think if you're looking at Mike McCarthy to hire his coaching staff, it is most likely going to be disappointing, and it's going to be outdated. He's not going to be looking to bring in a shield house. He wants to be in control of the offense. He doesn't want anybody to call plays. You know, for all of the, like, good vibes that Mike McCarthy tries to put out of the podium and be like everything's cool, he is a control freak. and he is going to want to be in charge of what the offense does. And it's not the worst offense in the world. It's an upgrade over Arthur Smith. You can legitimately look at it both ways. And I think that's what a lot of the Homer media is trying to do. Like, you can look at his resume and say, it's similar to Sean Payton. You can look at the points per game that he put up with prime Aaron Rodgers and Dak Prescott and say, well, how bad could it be? But, I think the opposite is true, that it could be a lot better. And then you add to this, like Mike actually said with his job on the line in 2024 at the NFL trade deadline, I don't want us to make any trades. He wanted to believe in his guys. And the guys are going to like him. Maybe is not as much as they liked Mike Tomlin, but Mike McCarthy is going to keep his guys happy.
Well, he had the one I hate the most is was it the New York Times? He was quoted as saying in the New York Times that he told Jerry Jones he watched every play from 2019 while he was out of coaching, and he came clean and said, I didn't watch every play, but I wanted the job. You do what you got to do. There's just, when you start talking about missing team meetings to get massages, when you start talking about your quarterback literally wanting to fight you, but then also blaming you for everything that goes wrong, and then part of going wrong is you kicking field goals at the one. Part of going wrong is not using motion. Part of things going wrong is like what the AI thing was talking about, kicking field goals down 12, or ostensibly euthanizing seasons while the game is still going on. That decides your season. Going 15-1 and getting the brakes beat off you by the 2011 Eli Mannings and the front four that should not be named, that took down Tom Brady twice. But like, this is where I've come out on it. If Mike McCarthy was coaching the Pittsburgh Steelers last year, they would have beat Cleveland in Cleveland and been able to rest their starters in Week 18. You will win games that you are supposed to win. You will, if you're the better team, you will win the game. He has gone 12 wins 3 times in a row. He's been as good as 15-1. I think he's like 61. It's like 608, 61. Him and Tomlin could not be more similar. And between the two of them, I said this to Cody Alexander yesterday, they have won 1 playoff game since 2017. That is where the backlash is from. It is not about the career in total. It is not about the 22 of these or the 12 of those that he is better than this Hall of Fame coach in wins or that Hall of Fame coach in win percentage or that he has a Super Bowl ring and that Chris Shula has done nothing and Shieldhouse has never even called plays. It's about what we thought was in front of us. It was about change. It was about why we got rid of Tomlin in the first place. And here we are in this high floor, low ceiling era all over again. And it's like beyond Groundhog Day. It's like a double middle finger salute from a baby who grew up to take over the family business. And now that he's a man, all he's proving is that his family who bought this thing for $2,500 and is now worth $8 billion is accountable to no one. No one can tell him anything. And because that's the case, he's just going to do whoever he wants to drink a case of beer with the most.
Yeah, and he is great at having a good time. I think he charmed the owners just as he did with Jerry Jones, which you alluded to. I'm going to give you that audio video here in just a second. But a point I wanted to make and a question I wanted to ask you is, if you wanted this, you should have just stayed with Mike Tomlin. You should have just picked up the option and made Mike Tomlin happy and said, we got 2 more years of this and bring back Aaron Rodgers, because we know the players loved playing for Mike Tomlin.
No, but here's the thing, though. You could have then traded Mike Tomlin. Keep winning. Keep fucking winning. Keep winning. Keep going 9-8. Keep going 10-7. Keep losing 30-6 or worse, and more embarrassingly so in the wild card round. And then trade him and get. Nobody else was interviewing Mike McCarthy. Nobody wanted him. No. You were the only one.
Yeah.
Why the rush?
Yeah, Steelers fans know how outdated the Cowboys are. The Cowboys hired him in the same circumstances 6 years ago. I now believe, and I cover both these teams very closely, I now believe the Steelers are more outdated than the Cowboys. And that is a very bad place to be. That being said, I still do think there is a possibility they could find success here, because Mike Tomlin is a quality, but maybe antiquated coach. So you mentioned this. Tom Pelissero had just written about Mike Tomlin or Mike McCarthy in 2020.
You can't do it. You keep calling him Tomlin because they're the same guy.
There was this great story about how McCarthy had built this scouting room in his barn, and every day he was going out to the barn and studying modern offense and what maybe he had let slip through the cracks during his incredible run in Green Bay. Reporters followed up asking for more detail at the introductory press conference.
I need to confess. I mean, I told Jerry I watched every play of the 2019 season, but I wanted the job. So I haven't watched every play of the season, but it was just I mean, you do what you got to do, right?
You hear Stephen Jones kind of awkwardly laughing in the background, but the takeaway there is Mike knows how to sell himself to the owners, and he definitely lied to the Cowboys. He probably thinks the need of updating to modern stuff is nonsense. A lot of old school coaches will say if you get into that cat and mouse game, you're going to end up chasing your own tail. And Jason Garrett felt that way. Mike McCarthy felt that way. We were in Groundhog Day mode covering the Cowboys.
Yeah, I mean, you want to know what else is nonsense? Tell me how Mike McCarthy resurrected Rich Gannon's career. Tell me how. Because Rich Gannon's career didn't get resurrected for real until he went to Oakland, until we're talking about a completely different team, he wasn't league MVP for like 6 or 8 more years, and that's under Bill Callahan, and it was really John Gruden's team. So why is he getting credit for that? You want to talk about how he goes all the way back to coaching Joe Montana? That was 1993. That was Kansas City Chiefs Joe Montana. He didn't coach Joe Montana up. He didn't make – like, what are we – these narratives – Brett Favre had already – did he get better after leading the league in interceptions? Did they reset? Did Brett Favre have another career? But Brett Favre had already been MVP and won his Super Bowl. Like, what are we talking about with this guy getting credit for all this development? You want to sell me on Steve Bono and Elvis Gerbach? He was awful with rookie Alex Smith. And oh, by the way, the reason Aaron Hernandez still wants to fight him is because they fucking drafted Alex Smith in the first place and let the little flavor saver let Aaron Rodgers fall to the end of the first round. He's responsible for that.
Man, go ahead.
Like, I'm entering Mariah Carey Christmas Carol mode, and I just can't, because all these narratives are at best false, half-truths into outright lies, or, what's the real story? Like, dude, Aaron Rodgers might be the second greatest quarterback of all time. He might be the greatest quarterback. Those superlatives are true, but not anymore. And he's not the X factor guy. Just like we're talking about Cody Alexander, you don't have to spy him anymore. You don't have to call your game plan for anything other than what the route tree that you're going to get is. And oh, by the way, let's go through the laundry list. Okay, the first jokes I started getting from old Nike bosses of mine or friends of mine from all around my former lives was, hey, heads up for the Devontae Adams breaking trade news. Dude, that dude's playing today. Devontae Adams isn't coming here. Okay, so that one at least isn't happening. But go down the merry band of misfits from, like Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Donald Driver, Devontae Adams, whoever your favorite and I know I'm missing some. I'm not saying that list was comprehensive of players and particularly wide receivers, Jermichael Finley's, Ryan Grant. Pick your running back, pick your group, pick your X, your Y, your Z, your H, your R, your F, whatever it is. Like, they had dudes, and Aaron Rodgers had a lot of fun doing that stuff because he is one of one. Like, prime Aaron Rodgers is better than Pat Mahomes. Prime Aaron Rodgers is literally better than everybody except for Tom Brady. And the only reason you're having that conversation is because of Super Bowls. Like, if you put dudes against dudes in a throwing the football contest at any level of NFL anything, Aaron Rodgers is on your Mount Rushmore, your medal stand. He's duking it out for one or two, and he might be one. He is not that guy anymore. And oh, by the way, you don't have any of the other dudes. Your wide receiver one isn't wide receiver one. You have 2 of them under contract. So you're going to go draft Mekhi Lemon? You're just going to draft wide receivers? You're going to go talk Adam Thielen out of retirement? Like, make this make sense at any level of the fucking conversation.
Man, you are on fire. I do want to just take a little breather here because you referenced our Cody Alexander interview. We'll put it up on screen now. Maybe watch it when you're done. You can find it in our library. But the Coach A from matchquarters.com, the #1 defensive coaching guru on YouTube, on the internet, in the media, however you want to put it. But a really informative interview yesterday. And if you want to know more about this subject, tap into that. You mentioned Mike McCarthy and Aaron Rodgers. And it is interesting how these two want to work together again. I guess they had a reconciliation after things really got ugly. But I think the reason Rodgers wants to play for McCarthy and actually said a couple of years ago he'll play for any team that Mike McCarthy coaches, because Mike, for as much of a control freak as he is, his track record says he'll let Aaron Rodgers do whatever he freaking wants. And I think that is a concern for Steelers fans, because we want a heavy-handed coach that's going to force Aaron Rodgers to run the ball and do more play action. And I don't think Rodgers wants to.
They don't. So that's one of the things that Cowher said that's really interesting, because there are years, and some of that is talent-driven, but there are years where, like, you like a lot of what they do because they run the ball so well, not necessarily so much, but so well. Again, that goes into how good 12 was. So now you have to go, okay, hold on for a second. If we're going to get a ton of 3x1s and you're just going to go find guys to plug in, and you're going to get, God, I just can't stop thinking about Ryan Clark talking about whoever's at 3 running the team, and how even when you know what's coming, and even when you're a player who's as good as Ryan Clark was, as much as you maybe don't like everything he has to say, he was a damn fine player, and he put a lot of dudes on notice. They don't play quite the same way as they did back in his day, and he was a ton of fun to watch. And what you have to remember and remind yourself of is you watch the first touchdown in the Super Bowl and then the play that ended the game. Both are whizzed by his ear hole, and he knew the play. That's the arm talent that we're talking about. So now I'm on this roller coaster. I'm coming down the other side of the cliff, and it's got 2 inches of ice on it, like Dallas, Texas right now. And I'm an 18-wheeler, and I'm out of control because I want to just go, okay, I don't want to fucking hate 18 weeks of Steelers football next year. I don't. But then you hear it's a 5-year contract, so now I got to hate 90 weeks. Like, is that what I'm strapping myself? I'm not going to live in that world. So how do you talk yourself into it? How do you talk yourself into Mount Washington and Pat Freiermuth? Aaron Rodgers doesn't really love throwing the tight ends the same way he loves throwing back shoulder to X. How do you talk yourself into, is this a 3-headed monster? We bring Kenny G back. We paid Warren already. Caleb Johnson actually gets let out of the doghouse, and we actually do commit to that, and we do get play action off of it because that's what DK Metcalf's best at. And then you go, okay, well, guess what? We have all these excuses because of Arthur Smith, injuries, suspensions, and all the bullshit that 2025 was that we also blamed on Mike Tomlin and his bullshit. This is me. Live footage of the monkeys banging cymbals in my head. What is the quote on this one? Not one rotation on those tires?
Yeah, no rotation on those tires. I can't believe that truck is still rolling straight, dude, but the ice in Dallas definitely hits different.
I want to take a step back. I just fucking can't, because we're going to watch here in a few hours the future of the NFL. And you can say, yeah, look at all the Sean McVay guys that didn't hit. There are at least 1, if not 2 or 3 more guys who have. Zach, you can talk about Cincinnati and their defense, and Joe Burrow talking about they went to a Super Bowl. Like, you can hate on Zach Taylor as much as you want. They went to a Super Bowl. Yeah, he had a quarterback. Fine. Like, go through the process and do the work about the dudes who come off the McVay tree and go run their own thing, and you go, they had a quarterback. Okay, fine. Then why are we willing to take that step back and say, Aaron Rodgers and Mike McCarthy, clap, clap, clap? Why are we willing to reverse engineer that? You don't know the plan for Chris Shula, and maybe they overreach for Ty Simpson. Maybe they do trade for Malik Willis, even though it looks like he's going to Miami. Maybe you're not excited about Kyler Murray. Maybe you don't think Will Howard has an NFL arm. But the problem is we don't know what any of that stuff was. So there was reason to be excited. And the track record being, show up on time, grind, work your ass off, live in the building, get promoted 6 times since 2017. Yeah. And every room that you're in, outside linebackers, inside linebackers, DBs, calling the plays, every year someone goes from Pro Bowl to All Pro, from street to starter, from starter to Pro Bowl, every single time. That's what you're excited about. And now that's gone, and we're going to talk ourselves into some version of Scott Tolzien and Al Harris. And look, I like Al Harris, and I know you covered him, and I know we both think he's a pretty decent coach and he can do some things. But the problem is it's all under McCarthy. The problem is we know what he is. And the problem is we just fucking escaped from that, and we thought it was going to be something new. So it's not about the backlash, and it's not about just shitting on Mike McCarthy. It's about hope actually being actualized, and then sitting there and watching change watching the future that could be just go flying by like that truck with the wheels not even spinning.
Right. The hope is that Al Harris is a genius at getting his defensive backs to intercept and take away the ball more. So you combine that with more good players, a great left guard, a wide receiver too. It's just with more players, like the Houston Texans have the great defense. The Texans have the great defense without much scheme complexity. There's ways to get it done. You asked why are media members and content creators applauding this or choosing the positivity. They know the positivity gets more clicks. That's not what you're going to get on the Knoll Road. We're not going to be biased towards positivity just to make you watch more and to get more engagement. That's not how you cover a football team. The team broadcasters, the flagship guys in every market you go to, they have to. You can't be overly critical if you want to get a paycheck from the team. So I get all that. People have their reasons for things. But, speaking of that, I want to talk about why not Chris Shula, because, last week at this time, Pauly Market call sheet was at 75, 80%. It's going to be Shula. What happened there? My belief is that if Shula's going to take this job, it's like Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson had an opportunity to go, but he wanted to come in and install his own football program. I think Shula and Shieldhouse, coming from the McVay tree, were like, yeah, we want to set up the next chapter of how McVay does things, and that includes a very deep coaching staff. It's an assembly line of passing game coordinators and assistant head coaches and all these guys who are getting trained up to do things this way, and we are going to complement and row the boat in the same direction. I think that's cheapskate Rooney not wanting to pay the $750,000 to $1.5 million that you need additionally. Like, it's probably an additional $5 to $8 million total to carry a coaching staff like that. And if you bought the team for what the Steelers got the team for, and it's currently worth $10 billion, and you're not willing to throw an additional $5 to $8 million at it, a tiny percentage of your overall net worth, you're dooming the team to failure, and you're starting to look like the Scrooge McDucks of NFL ownership. You know what I'm saying?
I froze for a minute. Am I back? Are we good? Are we still here?
Good.
Rolling on the Knoll Road. The thing about it, I just also kind of glitched because I was just imagining Art Rooney going off a diving board into a swimming pool full of gold balloons. It's Scrooge McDuck. I grew up on DuckTales, right? I mean, that stuff was awesome.
But I mean, it's league wide. Like, owners are drunk on money. There's no punishment for staying stagnant.
Yeah, this is why I have
no $500 million.
When Mark Cuban is on the court fighting with refs or other owners are doing things, and you're like, dude, just like stay in your press box. When Jerry Jones is can I do that on YouTube?
I think so.
We're gonna get in trouble. When Jerry Jones is doing that, to people from like, I love that stuff because they're invested, and you can go, okay, well, Jerry Jones is, if anyone's drunk on money, he actually admitted that was the engagement farm. But this last year, what did he do? He came and fleeced us for George Pickens, and then he started doing some other things with extensions, and they traded for Q and sent Parsons out of town. Like, they changed. And if Jerry freaking Jones can change, anybody can change except for the Rooney family, apparently. And what's really challenging about that, even just beyond the 5 to 8 million or the valuations in the billions and all those different things, is that they have the balls to come to the podium and talk about being in contention, that they have the disrespect for the fan base to come to the podium and say, sometimes you have the horses and sometimes you don't, when all it takes is pennies on the dollar for them to actually put you in a position. They don't have to sell percentage of the team like Philly did. They don't have to mortgage anything except for like the relative thing of you and I going to Starbucks. Like, how everyone says, hey, if you're poor, if you're middle class, if you're upper middle class, which is really poor in today's society, just stop going to $5 a day, because it ain't even $5 anymore. It's $7.32 for a venti triple macchiato, whatever. And you put that away for 30 days and watch how that adds up over 12 months, over 10 years. This is like that for them. That's where we're at. It's the equivalent of them not going to Starbucks in the morning to go get the players and the coaching. That's how far behind they are. And it's just, it sucks because, like, in this world that we live in today, like I went to J school, right? I went to Kentucky. I'm a journalism guy. Edward R. Murrow's one of my bombs in World War II in the buildings. Like thinking about how different the world used to be, how different journalism used to be. I was still part of classes that were being taught. There's no cheering in the press box. And here you and I are on YouTube. The lines have never been more blurred. Are you a fan? Are you a stan? Are you a reporter? Are you covering this team? Are you a content creator? And more than ever, the lines are not just blurred, but it's kind of a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. Even the old school guys have Twitter and things like that, and they're making money everywhere they can. So you get it, to your point. You can't be too critical of the flagship. If you want to be in this business and be able to cover football and be able to be around this stuff, they write your checks. You got to carry their water. And that's why it's so hard with like Kabali sometimes, because he starts to be critical. And then the next column is, oh, well, Mike McCarthy could be the best of both worlds. And you go, okay, but this guy's interesting because he has it in him to tell the truth. He just can't get let all the way out of the doghouse like Roman Wilson. So when you go through the machinations of covering this team, of being a fan, of creating content about it in any way, shape, or form, the thing that is the most disheartening is that when I was in high school, jerseys were $40. Now they're over 200. Everything goes up except for your investment in this team, Art Rooney.
Man, and you just nailed it right there, because the problem is when so many media members choose to consciously be positive because they think that's what the team wants to hear, that's what the fan wants to hear, it makes it a lot more difficult to generate the critical mass of negativity to force ownership out of their patterns, to change viewership ratings, right? To change how consumers purchase tickets or the merchandise. Like that is what that brand of media ultimately holds you back from. And things really didn't start to change for the Cowboys until all of the legends started weighing in that this isn't good enough. And the fans and the media collectively formed this groundswell of, dude, this is a freaking joke. And maybe at the end of the Mike McCarthy timeline, this collective fan base and media will be ready to grow up and just tell the truth. And until then, we'll keep banging that drum for you here on the Knoll Road. Thanks for unloading with your passion today, New Bear. It was fantastic. We'll be back soon to talk about what is next. Is there legitimate reason to be optimistic? Leave a comment down below. If you like the video, We go long form 4 times a week. Until next time, we'll see you here on the Knoll Road.